let's get things started. And I want to turn things over to you really quickly. But of course, for those of you who are here on the webinar, who maybe this is your first introduction to Rich, and I invite you to get a pen, get a paper. That's how I pay attention. And get ready for some good knowledge. I've seen a little bit of this presentation. I'm very excited for one of the slides. But when you see Rich present, the audiences always describe him as really being a true leader with a lot of integrity. And he's led his organization for over 2 decades as one of North America's most preeminent authorities on real estate and business performance. And when you see him talk, you see his passion coming out. They are literally global, all over the world. I was just talking about where he's going next. Richard, as a realtor himself and somebody who's walked in your shoes, started as a real estate agent at the age of 24 and went on to earn a 6-figure salary in his first year, and did so for every year of his career. In '89, he decided, I'm opening up my own brokerage, and led his brokerage of only 20 agents to achieve the highest production per agent of any brokerage within his trading area. So, that's one of the reasons that he took that passion of training and helping people, deliver more and get more for their business, and brought that into Richard Robbins International. For him himself, business mentor, international speaker, author of Deliver the Unexpected. If you haven't checked out his book, definitely check it out. And with that said, I want to turn things over to Richard Robbins.
Thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure to be here, buddy. It really is. I appreciate the opportunity. And hello to everybody out there that's watching right now. You're probably looking at a screen of my picture, and all I see is a lot of wrinkles around my eyes. That's all I see in that picture, but we better get rid of that really fast. So anyway, great to be with you all. The industry has been going through a lot of change, and I think you would all agree that technology is sort of changing the landscape. Now, technology is actually very, very good for us, but it's also caused, and some people call it disruption. I want to talk a little bit about that and how to overcome it. I want to make sure I give you a solution. But I'm not as convinced it's about disruption as maybe it's about distraction, and it's distracting us a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to give you some ideas around that. We're going to talk about the 5 ways to get buyers and sellers to say yes to you. I'm going to start out with a little bit of what the changes are that are happening. And then at the end, we do have a program coming up, Masters Academy, which is happening the 19th and 20th of November in Toronto. And I will tell you about that. That'll probably take me 3 or 4 minutes. But here's my goal. My goal is I want to bring you value over the next, say, 45 to 50 minutes. And if you have any questions, I'd be very glad and honored to answer those questions. So first of all, let's start with this thought. Why do you think most real estate agents get into the business? Okay, and I think there's 2 reasons that I think most people get into the business, and they're 2 freedoms actually. I look at it and say I think what we're all looking for to some degree in our life is some form of freedom, right? And I think real estate agents got into real estate because they wanted 2 freedoms. They wanted freedom of money, and they wanted freedom of time. That's what generally people are looking for. They get into the industry, what they want to do is they want to be financially successful, which is a beautiful thing. Why wouldn't we? You're taking a risk, right? You're going to be at 100% commission, so it makes sense that you should be well compensated for that. But I think there's also a lot of people get in not only because they want to have financial freedom, but they want to have time freedom. They want to have schedule freedom. They want to go to work when they want. They want to, go home when they want. They want to be able to pick up the kids from school, which is really cool. Can you imagine that we are in an industry, real estate, where we actually can build a business in so many different ways that can fully support the life that we want to live? In other words, we can have those 2 freedoms. Now, the question is, do most people have those freedoms? And I think the answer to that is no. Most people don't have financial freedom, and most people don't have freedom of time. But the question is it possible? And the answer is yes, because I know many people that do. And as an organization, what we think about when we're coaching or we're doing our events, we're always thinking about our job is to help people build a business that fully supports the life they want to live. And when we can build a business that fully supports the life that we want to live, then what happens, what it is we do for a living every day becomes very fulfilling, and it also becomes very, very rewarding. However, the challenge is I hear a lot of people, they'll say that I'm going to give real estate a try. And I'm not so sure that most people try real estate. I think to a large degree, real estate tries a lot of people. I think it almost works the opposite, because a lot of people, they want freedom of time and freedom of money. And sometimes this is what they feel like right here. A little bit tired, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you can relate. If I go back and I think about, when I started in real estate, I was 24 years old. It was July 15th, 1985. One thing I had at that point, I had a lot of energy. So I worked really, really hard. And I wasn't being strategic in how I generated leads, how I converted leads, right? How I did listing appointments, how I worked with buyers. I didn't have a lot of time management strategies, financial management strategies, things like that. And because of that, after about 2 years in the business, this is pretty much what I felt like. And then I thought to myself, I've got to get a little bit smarter, because the only way that I could do more based on the present plan that I had was to run faster. It's like being on a treadmill, right? And of course, when you're already tired and it's already wore you out a little bit, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And here's something that's really interesting. I was reading this study the other day with NAR, and it said that 33% of agents will leave the industry within the first year. That's pretty amazing. And it said that 87% of people will leave the industry within 5 years. So we got to look at that, and we got to say, well, why would that be? Why would we have 33% people leave the industry in 1 year and 87% leave in 5 years in an industry where we can literally make 6- and 7-figure incomes if we desire? Not that everybody desires that, but if that is what your goal is, that we can actually do that. And it's a pretty cool, it's a pretty cool goal. It's a pretty cool future focus to think about truly building a business that will fully support the life that you want to live. So if you want those dreams and goals, this business can give you that, but very few people get that. And you got to go, well, why? Why in a business where we could make a substantial living, where we can have freedom of time, do so many people not make it in real estate? And I think it's this. I think it's called the lead battle. I've actually, since I started speaking 21 years ago, obviously I was about 37 then, I've always said that I think the number one reason that a real estate agent will fail or not succeed at the level they desire is their inability to generate enough leads. I think it's the number one reason. In other words, if we're not generating enough leads, then we're probably going to spend time with people that aren't highly motivated to buy and sell. If we spend time with people that aren't highly motivated to buy and sell, then chances are what's going to happen is those people are going to take a longer period of time to make a decision. And what's interesting is some of them will not make a decision. Think about this. Think about a listing. Here's an example. There's two things it takes to sell any listing in Canada. One is motivation, and the second is price. So really, if you think about it, if you list a listing at the right price, in any marketplace will it sell? And the answer is yes. In other words, I could take a house and I could put it on top of a set of railway tracks. And if I priced it right, somebody would buy it and move it. It's like that simple, right? So price will overcome anything. And I understand that you've got good markets and bad markets, but if you price something right, it is going to sell. I don't care if it's a house, if it's a car, I don't care if it's this clicker I have in my hand. Doesn't matter whether it's my cell phone. It makes no difference at all. If you price it right, it's going to sell. Then you say, okay, well, what does it take to get the right price? Well, it takes motivation. See, if you have an overpriced listing and they have lack of motivation, that's probably going to turn into an expired listing in most markets, because they don't have to come down to the right price. They don't care. They go, oh, we only need one buyer. Ever heard that one before? Oh, yeah, we just need one buyer, and you're looking at it and go, yeah, they have to be an awful stupid buyer, right? You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying is that price will overcome anything, but what you need is motivation. If you don't have motivation, then chances are you'll end up with an overpriced listing. And buyers are no different. If buyers, if they're just looking around, if we're in no rush, right? We've all heard that before. Well, guess what? They look forever, and they even find the right house, and they go, well, let's wait and see what comes up in the next month. And you're going, are you kidding me? We've been looking for 12 months, right? That's all based on lack of motivation. So here's what happens. If we're not generating enough leads, then what happens is we spend time with the leads that we have, because maybe we don't have that many. And quite often, some of those leads we had might not be extremely motivated, which means they're going to take a long time to buy, or they're probably not going to sell because you'll never get the right price. Now, if you have a highly motivated seller, and they have to sell, right? They've already bought another house. They're busting at the seams because their family is getting larger. There's many things that cause motivation for somebody to want to sell. Even if they do overprice, they're eventually going to come to the right price. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for how can we get people down to the right price, and that's motivation. Now, if you generated a lot of leads, if you had leads coming in all the time, then what would happen is you're going to select the ones that have the highest degree of motivation. Just makes sense. And those ones are going to buy and sell quicker. You're going to get results quicker. You're going to make more money. You're going to satisfy more clients, and it makes the business work. It really does. So the challenge is the lead battle, that most people can't generate enough leads. And here's what's interesting. And this is so crazy what's been going on of recent. And it was only like about 8 months ago that this became so crystal clear to me. And, you know, as Mike said, I'm fortunate. I've had the good fortune. I've traveled all over the world, and I see the way real estate works in Australia and South Africa and Europe and South America and all through North America. I understand exactly how the whole industry works in all these different, you know, countries. But I look at North America, and North America has the most organized real estate in the world. In the world, anywhere I go, it's like, it's sometimes you don't even need licensing, right? There's no real estate boards. There's no governing bodies. Imagine you don't have a license. Like, anybody can sell a house. Like, they get a full-time job and they go sell a house at night for something to do. They don't need a license. So North America is very organized, but also because it is so organized that it creates a lot of opportunity. So Zillow last year generated $1 billion in revenue from the real estate industry. That's where they got all their money. Zillow figured out a way to get people to pay them $1 billion, brokers and agents. Now, the $1 billion that was given to Zillow, which, by the way, good for Zillow figuring it out. Whether you like Zillow or don't like Zillow, it doesn't matter. They got a business model, they figured it out. Why on earth would agents and brokers be giving Zillow in the U.S., which is now in Canada, $1 billion? What were they trying to generate? Leads, right? It's all leads. So what Zillow figured out was how to get the eyeballs, how to get the leads. And what Zillow effectively did is they gave the consumer everything the consumer wanted. So the consumer wanted to be able to go online. The consumer wanted to see what sold. They wanted to see what was for sale. They wanted to have lots of pictures. Maybe they wanted to have some video up there. They wanted to be able to go on and geographically, you know, look at an area and see all the houses that are for sale, right, and all the homes that have sold, so they could do all their own research. This is the world we live in. But what was happening at the same time in North America, all this was going on, the real estate industry, like the governing bodies in real estate, were trying to keep all the information from the public. But Zillow gave it to them. So the minute Zillow gave it to them, where did everybody go? Let's go to Zillow. Now, that doesn't mean they wanted to buy through Zillow. It just means that that's where they could go and do their search, because 100% of searches are going to start online today. We all know that, right? I sat at home last night on my computer and ordered a whole bunch of stuff, right, on Amazon. It's a beautiful thing. So Zillow then said, hey, now we got all the eyeballs, and I just want you to see this, so when I bring you the solution, it makes sense to you. Now that we have all the eyeballs, here's what we're going to do. If it's your listing, we're going to put your picture up on the site, right, on that listing. But we're also going to have what we call premier agents. We're going to put 3 premier agents up there, and we're going to charge those premier agents. And then what happens is when people are on that listing, they can quickly, you know, click on one of those agents and maybe get more information. And now the agent's got a lead and paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month for that lead. So as I said, I'm not dishing Zillow here. I'm saying that what they did was they figured out how to generate leads and then charge the agents, and the agents will pay thousands of dollars for the leads, right? Because they don't have enough leads on their own. So let's pay somebody else to do it. So they get it. Like, they understand that our challenge is generating the leads. So, and I can name, you know, partnerships. You look at Realogy down in the U.S. that has 13 brands under their umbrella, partners with Amazon, right? This is a partnership. But why? Leads, right? Well, what about iBuyers? Now, I've been talking about this now for about 6 months, and I asked in my audiences and a lot of events, I said, how many people understand what an iBuyer is? And like literally 1 or 2% of people put up their hand. Hardly anybody knows what an iBuyer is. So I'm going to explain it to you because it is here in Canada now, and we're probably going to see more about it, and then we'll start to get into how we solve this problem. So the first company to set up as an iBuyer was Open Door. And Open Door is a company that is heavily financed, okay, by Silicon Valley. And the whole theory is this. They have a company where they got, hundreds of millions of dollars. They start with tens of millions, but now they're up to hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in the bank. And if you wanted to sell your house, what you could actually do is you could take all the details of your house, pictures, all that sort of thing, and you send it to them, and within 24 hours, they will make you an offer on your house. And you can put any closing date you want. So they make an offer, you might close in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever you want. It's an open closing date for you. But they actually make you an offer. And people, not everybody, but a lot of people, less than 5% at this point, are accepting these offers. And we got to think about this. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody accept that offer? Okay? Because here's what we do know is that offer is going to be lower than what they'd probably get in the open market. And generally, it's discounted between 10 and 14%, right? So I'm going to pick easy numbers, but let's say it was a $100,000 house. That means they're going to offer you between $85,000 and $90,000 for the house. They buy your house. They close your house. They might resell it. They might fix it up a little bit and then resell it. They might even rent it out, but they're trying to turn your house for a profit. Now, let's say that they did this with hundreds of thousands of homes, and let's say they made a 2% profit, okay? Because remember, they're discounting 10 to 14%. But when they put it back on the market, Open Door is an example. They're actually a real estate company. They don't have to pay a listing commission. They just list it on the local MLS service and everything else. Other agents show up. They just got to pay a selling commission. If they could net 2%, or even 1%, but let's say 2%, if they could net 2% on hundreds of thousands of sales, are they going to make money? They're going to make a lot of money. It's a volume game, isn't it? So iBuyers, whether it's instant offer, right? Zillow's actually talking about getting into this business. You got Open Door, and I can go on and on. Realogy's getting into this business. Keller Williams has talked about getting into this business. All, primarily American companies. It's happening down in the U.S. But the whole thing is if they get into that business, what are they trying to generate? By them getting you to send the information on your house, what are they trying to generate? They're trying to generate leads. Think about this. If you see a home and it's got a sign topper, and the sign topper, it says, if your home doesn't sell, I'll buy it. You ever seen those, the guaranteed home sales? We've all seen those, right? When they put that sign topper on there or put it on their website, what are they trying to generate? They're trying to generate leads. See, so think about this. Zillow generates leads. iBuyers are generating leads. Somebody puts a sign topper on it. If your house doesn't sell, I'll buy it. They're all generating leads. Everybody's doing exactly the same thing. They're in the what? The lead generation business. So what we have to realize, for us to separate ourselves from everybody else and to make 2020, say, your best year ever, what you have to become really, really good at is generating leads. Because the business isn't going to get any easier. We're going to have more competition. Like, we need to start getting better at what it is we're doing. So I wanted everybody to understand the theory that the number one reason an agent will fail is they don't generate enough leads. And that all of these other companies that are popping up, right, that a lot of people are calling disruptors, if you will, all they are is lead generation companies. Now, the iBuyer, will they ever control more than 10% of the market? I highly doubt it, right? So our positions are secure, you know what I mean? However, they're going to take a small percentage of the market. And any of these companies have figured it as one thing, how to generate leads. So then what would happen if you got better at generating leads? What if you said, my number one objective every day has got to be able to go out and find people who want to buy and sell real estate. You solve that problem and you can double, you can triple your income. You solve that problem, you can spend more time working with motivated prospects. They buy, sell, they sell, they sell quicker. Everything starts to work a little bit better. That's the number one problem I say to all of our coaching members that our coaches got to solve with them. I say, we've got to figure out 2, 3, or 4, or even 5 ways, we call them revenue streams, of you generating leads. So if you look at it, there's 12 ways to generate leads in real estate, and here they are. So you've got referrals from your database, right? you've got repeat clients, you've got agent referrals, you've got strategic alliance. There are other businesses that would be like maybe your dry cleaners that you frequent, maybe it's your mortgage broker, maybe it's your stager, like other people that are in a business that you actually give money to on a regular basis should also be supporting your business. That's one of my theories, right? You can do events, community, client events, you can do open houses, you can do door knocking, you can do sign calls, right? Incoming calls, farming, direct mail, web online, social media, and advertising. But they're your choices. So what we've got to do is we've got to figure out which ones are we going to master. And when I look at a lot of people's businesses, what I see is there's a little wee bit of everything, because they're the jack of all trades rather than the master of something, right? Instead of being really, really good at something. So I talk about the concept of leverage, and leverage is where you can produce the greatest result in the least amount of time. That's what leverage is. Leverage is where you can produce the greatest result using not too much money, not too much energy, and not too much time. That's what leverage is. So when I look at a way of generating leads, I say there's two things it has to have. Number one, it's got to be relatively inexpensive, right? And number two, it's got to be able to produce a result without me having to be there all the time. That's what I think about. So think about this. When I look at referrals from your database, okay, you could be on holiday and somebody could still send you a referral. So that has a lot of leverage to it, and it's relatively inexpensive. Repeat clients has a lot of leverage. Agent referrals has a lot of leverage, obviously. You got to pay 25%, so it's not necessarily cheap, but it has a lot of leverage, right? Strategic alliances does. Events, very, very costly, but it has leverage. Open houses has no leverage. You could not be on holidays and still do an open house, right? So in other words, you got to show up. It takes your time. You got to show up to get that result. Door knocking, you got to show up to get that result. Sign calls are always great. Farming has lots of leverage. You don't have to be there to produce a result. Your flyers could all be out there, but it costs a lot of money. Web and online can cost a lot of money. Social media could be good, right, depending on how much you spend, and advertising is very expensive. So here's what we have discovered. We have discovered by studying, all kinds of our clients' businesses, that the agents that have the best businesses that continue to grow every month, or every year, I should say, 1/3 of their business comes from repeat, 1/3 comes from referral, and 1/3 is coming from new sources. So let me show you. This is a dashboard here of one of our clients. Okay, so this is one of our coaching clients. So you can see that I took this. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. I don't know if you can see my cursor. You probably can, right? So you can see we took this off here Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. Okay, right there. Now, if we move over here, what you can see is the percentage of his business. So 67% of his business, okay, there's 67% of his business came from repeat and referral, okay, sphere, you can see that up here, and 33% was new. So let's go down here and look at his business. Now this is a fairly large business. When he started with us, he was doing about $170,000, $180,000 a year. This year, he'll probably do 1.7 in numbers. But look at repeat was 27. Home Light, this is online lead gen, okay, was 18. Referrals were 15. Boomtown, that's online as well, was 12. You can see referral, okay, here was 11. Then you can see Zillow, right? Calls in, open houses, sign calls, and prospecting. Now, let's say what we do is we take right here, we take the repeat, that's 27 deals. Now, let's take referrals from center of influence and referrals from past clients, and those two add up to 26 deals, don't they? So you got 27 deals from repeat, and you've got 26 deals from repeat referral. Then most of the rest is online, and that's what we get, the 67%. Remember, 2/3, 1/3 is repeat, 1/3 is referral, and 1/3 is new. This is a business that will continue to grow every year because of the new business. If it was just repeat referral, it might grow, but it's not going to grow as fast. Now, I want you to think about this. Let's forget the 1/3 new for a minute, and let's just look at the repeat referral. So let's say I had a business, okay, that let's say there was, pick easy numbers, there was 10 transactions done. And if we did 10 transactions and 8 were referral and 2 were repeat, what's wrong with that business? That would indicate to me it's probably a newer agent and they're not getting a lot of repeat business yet. But let's say 8 were repeat and 2 referral. What would that indicate? That would indicate that they have loyal clients and their clients are actually sending them business on a regular basis or doing business with them when they're buying or selling, but they're not referring business to them because they don't have a lifetime referral system, which that is a system we're going to talk about today, right? They don't have the system. They're not bringing value. They don't have advocacy. In other words, those clients will do business with them, but for some reason they're not sending business to them on a regular basis. You with me? So when you look at your business, here's what I'm going to suggest to you is take your business and source all your business, just like right here where it says lead sources, and just calculate how many deals came from each source. How many deals came from each source, and figure out if you're sitting where your business looks a little bit where you got 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Because that's what it is you're looking for, is a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, okay? Oops, I got to move back. I want to show you the 1/3 again. There it is. There you go. So that's what you want your business to look like, okay? So you got 1/3 repeat, 1/3 referral, and 1/3 new, and your business will grow pretty substantially. Most important part of your business is going to be growing this third and this third, your repeat and referral, because that's where you have the most leverage. They say it takes 5 times more energy to develop and maintain a relationship with somebody you don't know than it does to build a relationship with someone or continue with somebody you know. So we've got to figure out how we're going to generate the leads. And
Rich,
what's really cool is
can I ask you a couple questions? I got a couple questions coming in, and one of them is just, is that a Canadian client that you're working with, a Canadian realtor, and that's coming from Sarah White?
Yes. All of the numbers that we do, they're all the same. This particular, let me think, who is this? No, this one's Nathan Dart, and he's from Washington. And that's why you would see Home Light on there. And that's why you would see Boomtown on there. So that wouldn't count up here in Canada. However, the numbers are just the same for a lot of our Canadian clients. They're just not getting the online leads from sources that aren't here. That's all. There's lots of online companies up here too, right?
And somebody else was asking about what CRM tool is that screenshot from. So that's coming from Robert Weiss. Do you know? Or?
That is, yeah, I do. That's coming from, I'll remember.
Sounds good, man. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, that's okay. What's the name of it? Do you have any other questions, Mike? Is that it?
No, that's it. And I thought those were just so related to what you were showing that I wanted to make sure that we kind of covered it. Is it, I mean,
I got it.
Yep.
I got it. Gecko board. Gecko. It's GEKKO board. It costs about $50 a month.
Gecko board.
And it creates a whole snapshot of your business. But again, you know, they're all great, Mike. And I don't care, in all fairness, I don't care which one you use. I think they all sort of do the same thing, well, if used properly.
But that's the catch, right? That's what I tell agents all the time is if it's a CRM that you're happy with and you love using and you're in there every day and it's helping you stay in touch with your business and build referrals, then you're doing the right thing, regardless of cost or anything else. So let's talk 5 ways that I can get these buyers and sellers to say yes. They keep saying no to me, Rich. You tell me how to do it.
Well, maybe you got to change who you are.
Man, I don't want to do that.
Okay, let's get going. Okay, 5 ways to get buyers and sellers to say yes. The number 1 is this. You need to start building your tribe. So my theory again, and what we work with our coaching clients is the way the world works today is you got to own the relationship. Because if you own the relationship, and here's the best example I can give you. I have a place in Toronto where I am right now, and I also have a place in Florida. I bought my place in Florida about 3 or 4 years ago, and I'll never forget, I went over to my friend's house to visit him before I bought mine, and that's why I bought there, because I stayed at their house for a couple of nights. Anyway, I go over and I visit my friend, and we're staying there for 2 nights, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, oh, this is beautiful down here, like he's backing onto the water, and nice little gated community, right? The homes aren't, crazy, not very big, they're just nice, they're manageable. Nice little community, all those sort of things. And I'm sitting here and I go, this is really, really nice. And he said, well, you should check out prices in here. I said, that'd be great. He goes, well, you need to talk to my agent. Well, this was where it all started. And I said, I'm going to talk to your agent. Why did you just call that person your agent? And his name is Patrick, by the way. And he said, because what he does is, we bought a house off him a few years ago, and, anytime, there's something happening in the community, he sends me all this information. If there's a hurricane going through, because my buddy's only down there in the winter, say there's a hurricane going through in late fall, what he does, he sends us all the information about the hurricane. He keeps us up to date every day and what's going on. If we need to get on storm shutters, he'll look after, he'll charge it, but he's got people that'll do that for him. And he said, I hear from the guy a couple times a month, and everything he does is just trying to keep me posted on what's going on. Every time something sells in here, every time something for sale, he's sending it to me all the time. I go, well, that's great. So anyway, we called up Patrick. Patrick actually came over that night and sat down and had a beer with us. Well, a couple of days later, guess what? I'm out looking at homes. So I'm looking at homes with Patrick. Then, I made an offer, didn't get it, and then I end up buying about 3 or 4 months later the same home. And the reason I bought the same home was Patrick stayed in touch with me. And he kept saying to me, he said, Rich, he said, that house is still sitting there. They had tenants in it. So this gentleman had bought this house as an investment, and he had rented it out. And there was some other homes that were very nice, but they had pools. And I wanted a pool, but I didn't like the pools. So I wanted to get one without a pool, and I want to put in my own pool. Right. So I'm really looking for a house without a pool, unless I find one with a pool that I like. And that's why this one was attractive to me. I thought this house here, we can, throw new flooring in. And it was only 3 or 4 years old, so the cupboards were great. And anyway, Patrick stayed in touch with me, kept telling me it's for sale, let me know every time something came up, all that sort of stuff. And he said, the tenants have moved out. This guy, maybe he'd be open to accepting the same offer you made a few months ago. I said, well, listen, Patrick, here's the deal. I said, I'll go ahead and make the same offer. I don't want to go in lower. I don't want to be like that. But help them understand that this is it. This is the offer. And it was because I felt that's what the home was worth. Well, the guy accepted the offer. Well, as soon as the guy accepted the offer, we closed within 30 days. Now, I couldn't get down there to close. So guess who helped me with all the closing? Patrick. I mean, everything was amazing, right? Looked after all of the homeowners association work. Anything that he could do to help me, he looked after it. And then he started bringing me all this value that my buddy Paul was talking about that lives just down the street. To the point that a friend came down to see me last year, and he stayed at my place. He goes, hey, this is pretty good, And I said, yeah. I said, do you want to talk to my agent? He goes, sure. What ended up happening? Same story, exactly the same story. Now, do you think that I went online and checked out homes? I did. Did I go on Zillow? I did. But I used Patrick. And my friend used Patrick, referred from my friend Paul. Does everybody see where we're going with this? See, when you own the relationship, not only will those people do business with you again, but they will refer business to you on a regular basis. But you got to own the relationship. And sending them one calendar a year is not owning a relationship. But staying in touch with them 24 to 36 times a year, where everything you do is bring value, is how you own the relationship. And also, when I say build tribe, you actually have 3 tribes you can build. You can build people you know personally, all the professional strategic alliances, other businesses, and other agents. You should have a database built, of those 3 categories of people. Now, I want to tell you a quick story, and this is something that happened to me many years ago while I was still in real estate. And I went to the dry cleaners, and I walked in, and the dry cleaner's name was Richard. And anyway, he wasn't there very often, but this particular day he was there. So I walk in and I go, hey, Richard, how you doing? He goes, oh, good, Rich, how you doing? I said, I'm doing really, really well. He goes, how's business? I said, great. The small talk that you always do. And at the time, I was tribe building. I was building my tribe because I wanted to add people to my database on a regular basis. So I asked a question to Richard. I said, hey, Richard, I got a question for you. I said, if you knew somebody who's buying or selling real estate, because the average homeowner knows 3 to 5 people who will buy and sell every year, who would you refer them to? He looked at me. He said, well, I don't know. He said, I know a lot of agents. A lot of them come in here and drop their dry cleaning off. He said, nobody's asked me that before. He said, would you like me to refer them to you? I said, that would be great, right? And then I went on and told him about my system. I said, I have this system, to bring value to all the people that are in this, preferred client list that I have. You get a newsletter every month. You get invited to client appreciation parties. Bring you up to speed, what's going on, all that sort of stuff. I went through it, and he goes, oh, it'd be great. So I was list building, wasn't I? I was building my tribe. So I didn't have my tribe. But listen to the end of this story. So the next day, I went down to Vegas for a few days. And this is back in the voicemail days, right? This is when you did everything by voicemail. And I got back, and my voicemail in my office had a message from Richard. And it said, hey, Rich, It's Richard over the dry cleaners. Give me a call. I got one for you. I thought, wow, interesting, right? So because I was building this tribe and I was asking people who would they refer business to, and if Richard had said to me, oh, my sister's in real estate, I would say, okay, no big deal, that's fine. But every day I was thinking about how can I build my tribe, 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 and turn these people into advocates. And then you turn them into advocates by bringing them value on a regular basis. So take a look at these numbers right here. Here's Daria Kark. She's from Ottawa. So she's been, you can see, she's been to 6 of our events, okay? That's our Masters Academy events. She implemented what we call the Lifetime Referral System 2.0 because this is, you know, the second generation of this system we created. And in 2016, she had 140 people in her database. And of 140 people, she did 26 transactions. That means 18% of that number, 18% of 140 turned into transactions. Then what she did is she built her tribe in year 2 from 140 to 178. That's an increase, obviously, of 38 people. So, you know, what's that? Not quite one a week, obviously, but still up to 178 people, did 37 transactions. She got a 21% return. So 21% of 178 turned into transactions. Then she went from 178, she went up another 30 people to 208, 24% return, 50 transactions. Now, what's consistent? This number is going up, this number is going up, and this is also going up, but remaining consistent, closer. Now, here's what we have discovered. We have discovered if you follow our exact system, I mean, not half of the system, but the whole system, that within 2 years, up to like after 2 years, you'll get more than a 20% return. You should get up 12 to 15 in the first year and 20% in 2 years. And that's what happened exactly to Daria right here. See, she went to 18, then she went to 21, then she went to 24. Now, if you had 300 people in your database getting a 24% return, you're doing a lot of deals, aren't you? But guess what? Daria owns the relationships. Now, let's look at the value of somebody in a database. This is sort of interesting as well. What is the value of one advocate in your tribe? So let's say you had 100 people in your tribe. Let's say you're getting a 20% return, which we talked about. You're doing 20 transactions a year from that 100 people, right? That's what the number is. Now, let's say your average commission is 10 grand, depending on your market. Some would be higher, some would be lower, right? That means you're doing $200,000 a year from 100 people in your database. If you're doing that, that means each person in your database is worth $2,000. So all we do is take, obviously, divide 100 into 200,000. That tells us that every single person in that database, if these were your numbers, is valued at $2,000. So then the question is, if every person in your database is worth $2,000, and I understand that doesn't mean that, you know, all of the 100 referred to you. Some are going to refer more than others. Some are going to go through years where they don't do any. Others are going to do more. That's just the deal. But what we know is the average is $2,000 per advocate. How much would you spend on them to create a system? I call it your lifetime referral system. And we recommend you spend between 5 and 10%. So you would spend, right, you can see between $100 and $200 per person in your database in terms of delivery of client appreciation parties, right, newsletters. I'm going to show you how you can give them a complimentary CMA. You do that on a regular basis, and what starts to happen? They become advocates. Now you don't have to worry about online lead generating companies, do you? Why? Because you own the relationship. Now, I will say this to everybody. It's always been important to own the relationship, but it's never been as important as it is today because of online lead gen companies. Because if you own the relationship, they can go online and do all the research they want. But when they make a decision, who are they calling? They're calling you, right? Or if they meet somebody thinking of buy or selling, who are they mentioning? They're mentioning you. That's the secret to this system. So the first is you got to always be building your tribe. Make your tribe bigger. Try to grow your tribe by 25 to 50 people a year. Second thing, you want to create and distribute education-based content.
Rich,
now,
can I ask you another question? Sorry, I don't. Before you move on, just real quick, because somebody was asking, can you just repeat the 3 elements of your tribe? You had the people you know, you had the strategic alliances, and what was the third one again?
Agents.
Agents.
Other agents from other markets, right? So what we teach, what we're trying to teach is that, so in other words, a lot of our coaching members, they go to our 2 conferences every year and they develop these relationships, and then they put these agents actually into their database and they actually deliver value, okay, to the agents. So there's a different value delivery system to the agents than there would be to your other two. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Total sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is just some examples. There's like, in our event, we teach all kinds of ways to deliver value and what the system looks like. But this is something I do every month. I create market updates for Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto every month. And imagine if you sent this out to everybody in your tribe. Whatever market you're in, you'd have to create it for your market. Would they consider this valuable? And I think the answer is yes, because they get to see January through September. And this is the actual numbers for the Toronto Real Estate Board. And here's what happens when they start to see this, when they start to see this type of content. There's another one that shows the sales 2018 to 2019. When they start to see this type of content, they start to see value in you, because one of the other challenges we have, and I think you would agree, is that a lot of buyers and sellers think they know as much as you. But when you start sending out this type of content, they start to realize maybe they don't know as much as you. These are called one sheets. This is content we create for our coaching clients. So, these are 8.5 by 11, one sheets. They can send digitally. They can take to open houses. They can mail out to people, whatever they want to do with them. But you can see, one's home buyer search tips. Should I buy first? Should I sell first? It takes them through the 4 W's of home buying. Do looks really matter, right? 5 reasons why most home buyers choose to work with real estate. 3 things you should know when selling your home. This is valuable content. And that's what I mean by when you start sending educational content, what happens is they start to see more value in you, because now they see your level of expertise. They perceive you as now as being an expert in the industry. The next thing you want to do, number 3, is bring value to their lives. Okay, so let me show you a video here. This is done by one of your fellow Royal LePagers at Signature, Tom Story.
Hey, Rich, it's Tom Story from Royal LePage in Toronto, and I want to send you this quick video, which I'm calling my real estate health check. I think twice a year for all my clients. It makes a lot of sense to have a better understanding on the market value of your property right before we head into the spring market and the fall market. So before I show you what your property is worth in today's market, I want to show you where the numbers are actually coming from. So if we pull up this page here, for your house, what we're comparing it to is detached, at least a 30 by 100 foot lot, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms minimum, a finished basement, garage with at least 2 parking spots, and all of these properties have been sold in the past 3 months. So I have some great news for you today, and there's 3 listings here that I want to show you, and they all sold just around the $1.3 million range, which is great news for your property. Now, if you have any interest in learning more, or maybe sitting down with me and having a better understanding to exactly the dollar amount that your house is worth, please let me know, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. Have a great day.
Beautiful stuff. So that's something that Tom does twice per year. And all he's doing now, bringing value to their lives. So the first is educational content, okay? And then the second is how you bring value to them personally while you're giving them an update on their house. This is customized to them. The educational content is for everybody, but this is fully customized to them. So you can do this using Loom, BombBomb does this, whatever you want, but all you're really doing is, you can see he's down in the corner, right? And you're just recording the screen. But here's what you want to remember is that when you send out a piece of marketing, because really what we're talking about is marketing, is I believe today that attention is the new currency. So everybody's trying to get everybody's attention. So if you're sending out stuff that people are not reading, or they're not seeing, or they're not hearing, you're not getting their attention. And this phone that we have today, everybody is trying to get everybody's attention, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or email or text or whatever the case is. So all of the content has got to be designed to get people's attention. Well, I think you would agree that what Tom did here, that's going to get people's attention. And just to give you an idea, he gets an 80% response rate from this. In other words, 80% of the people that he sends this to respond. Say, hey, thank you very much. That's really cool. Or, hey, maybe we're interested in selling. They don't all lead to a lead, but 80% of the people are now responding to him. And think about any marketing piece where you get an 80% response rate. There's hardly any, okay? Then the fourth thing is we got to make sure, if we want people to brag about us, if we want people to refer to us, we got to create exceptional lead and client journeys. Now, I have a story. This was many, many years ago, but I think it demonstrates the message. I was in San Francisco. I was speaking at the National Association of Realtor conference down there, and I never stayed at the Argent Hotel before. Actually, it's now been purchased by a big chain and everything else, but it was a boutique type hotel. It was beautiful. And the problem was I booked my room late. I couldn't get a room, and this is the only place I could find a room. So anyway, I show up late at night. I was speaking the next day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I couldn't get a flight out that night back to Toronto from San Francisco by the time I finished speaking, unless I wanted to do the red eye, which I didn't want to do, so I was flying out the next morning. So anyway, I get up the morning I'm leaving, and I go downstairs. I got my roller bag, and I got my briefcase. And I'm going to the front counter to check out. This was back when everybody still all went to the front counter, and there was 3 people in line. And this gentleman approached me, and he said, "Sir, it looks like you're going to be leaving us today." He said, "Would you like me to bring your car up, or will you require a cab?" I said, "I'd like a cab." He gets me a cab. Away he goes. Don't think much about it. He shows up a minute later while I'm still standing in line. I'm actually next in line now. And he said, "Sir, I've got you a cab sitting out front." He said, "Would you like me to take your suitcase there and put it in the trunk of the cab?" I said, "That'd be great." So I pull my briefcase off, and away he goes with my roller bag. And I do remember thinking for a minute, I hope the guy really works here, you know. Right? So away he goes, right? So he's gone. And then I check out, and then I start walking towards the front. He catches up with me, and he said, "Sir," he said, "I have you 2 newspapers here." He said, "I have the San Francisco Chronicle, and I have the USA Today. Would you like a newspaper to read?" I said, "That would be great." So I take the USA Today. And then he continues to walk with me. And he says this. He said, "Sir, would you like me to have the cab driver stop at the Starbucks? Because there's a Starbucks right on the corner just up the street, so they can get you a coffee while you're driving to the airport. You can read the newspaper, enjoy a coffee, because at this time of day, you're going to be 45 minutes to possibly an hour because of traffic." I went, "Wow, amazing." Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you know why that guy was doing that to me? And you do, right? He was trying to get a bigger tip. But I loved it. I was blown away by this, because think about it. This was a guy that at the time, like I still travel a lot, but not like I used to. I used to spend 260 days a night on the road. And so here's a guy who spent a lot of time in hotels. And this guy blew my mind. Porter did a great job, right? Now, did I tip him well? Yeah, I gave him a loonie, I think. No, I'm just kidding. I gave him more than that. But I did get a coffee. I got my coffee, but I never opened the newspaper. You know why I never opened the newspaper? Because I couldn't stop thinking about this guy. Because I thought to myself, if you took that attitude to any business, you're going to own it. You're going to own it. You take that attitude to real estate, you're making $1 million a year, because people are going to refer you nonstop. But see, one of the great challenges is some of us are trying to get away with it. We're trying to get away with doing the least amount. I'm going, no, it works the opposite. We got to do way more than we get paid. And if we do way more than we get paid, the day will come when we get paid more than we do. That's the way the world works. It's such a beautiful thing. One of our clients, Ralph Ciencio, he says this all the time. He said, almost 100% of my marketing budget is spent on creating exceptional client experiences. This is my marketing strategy. Beautiful. Like, so well said. He said that on stage when we were interviewing one time, and I go, "Ralph, that was beautiful. That's fabulous, right?" Okay, number 5, you got to master your sales skills. Because here's the deal, everybody. Sales is influence, right? Your ability to influence another human being to make a decision that will best serve them. That's what sales is to me. It's influence. It's your ability to influence another human being to make a decision that will best serve the client. And I find a lot of people in real estate, because when they got their license, they learned nothing about selling, nothing about business planning, nothing about lead generation, nothing about lead conversion, nothing about how to set appointments, nothing about doing a listing presentation, nothing about how to work with buyers, nothing about time management, nothing about financial management. And then they wonder why they struggle. And 87% of people are gone within 5 years because they can't sell shit. Right? They're great order takers. They're like customer service reps. So if somebody calls them up and says, "I want to see this house," well, they're good at that. But they're not good salespeople, right? And we got to become great, skilled salespeople. People want to work with somebody that can help them make the best decision for them. That's what we're looking for. So in all fairness, ask yourself, how often are you working on your skills? And most people, not very often. Right? But we've got to develop our skills. So the whole bottom line is this, is sales is nothing more than influence, and it's our ability to influence another human being to make a decision that will best serve them. That's what sales is, right? And we got to become good at that, because if we're not good at sales, If we're not good at converting a lead into an appointment, if we're not good at converting an appointment into a listing, if we're not good at getting a listing sold, right? Well, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle because we're not salespeople, we're order takers. We just take what shows up. So here's your recap, everybody. So you got to build a tribe, you got to create and distribute education-based content, which is marketing, which would go to everybody. Then you got to figure out a way to bring value to your clients' lives by customizing, just like we did with that, that pricing of the home, okay? They call it a real estate checkup sort of thing. Create exceptional experiences. When you do that, people will talk about you nonstop and master your sales skills. When you start to master that, everything starts to change in the game. The challenge is some people aren't focused on succeeding and flourishing. They're focused on survival, right? But I look at it and say, for 2020, is it a year you could double your business, like succeed and flourish, instead of just try to survive in the business? And you've got to be a little creative to do that. There's no question. But when you do that, everything starts to change, okay? So I want to tell you about Masters Academy, and then I'm just going to finish off with any questions. I want to do this quickly for you. So thank you for hanging out with us. So November 19th and 20th, we have a program coming up that we've been doing for 21 years in Toronto. We do one in Vancouver in July. We do one in Toronto in the fall. So it's coming up in November. Where is it? It's in Vaughan. It's right out by the airport. It's at a great facility. It's called the Event Center. We take over the whole Event Center for 2 days, and we teach you all the best practices you need to learn in real estate, so you can go out and you can kill 2020. We've had people that have been to 15, 16, 17 of these events over the course of their career. We have so many people every single year they're there because they want to learn the new content we're bringing. How do we get content to you? A few ways. Number one is called a lightning round. It's a 12 to 15-minute talk that we have people do that have great ideas. They're all set up this way. What is the idea? What result has the idea produced? And how do you do it? That's what we set it up. And that's why they're like TED Talks, they're like real estate TED Talks. We get the information quick. Who do we have coming in this year? We got Darren German. He's been to 11 of our events. This guy is absolutely killing it. And he's going to talk about not offering one commission, but two. See, we've discovered that negotiation, you need to offer people choice. If you say, hey, my commission's whatever, let's say it's 5%. Guess what they want to do? They want to negotiate the 5%. But if you say, I have two commissions, let me show you how it works. And you show them one, you show them two, and you give them a value proposition for both, then a lot of times they're just going to choose a commission. They're not going to negotiate down one because they think I got two options. So Darren did this. His second commission is 1 point higher than his original commission, and 73% of the time, people are now picking the higher commission. How cool is that? You want to give yourself a raise, okay? Tom Story's going to be there. We talked about him. You can see he's got 187 people in his database, 42 transactions. He's in Toronto, downtown Toronto, 22% return. Look at his growth. 14, 17, 43, up to 55 transactions, right? How many events has he been to? He's been to 7 events, okay? And he will tell you that his growth is caused by every year he just keeps implementing new things into his business that he learns at these events. We had Taylor Hack coming in from Edmonton, Alberta. He's got 166, okay, ranked my agent reviews, #1 in Edmonton, #2 in Canada. He's going to talk to you about how to get verified reviews, not just reviews, verified reviews. He'll show you how he does it. You'll be able to go back to all your clients in the past, and you'll be able to get reviews from all of these people. We're being interviewed 24 hours a day. We got to be doing that. Jeff's going to be there. He's from BC. He's done 42 transactions from video. He's going to show you exactly what a video must contain to be successful. So there's sort of the lightning rounds. We have more people speaking. We actually have, I think, 7 lightning rounds at this event. And then for the people that don't want to speak and do a lightning round, we do an interview on stage and I interview them. So here's some of the people we're interviewing. Daria's going to be there. I talked about her. She's going to show you everything she does, okay, all year long, the value she brings to her database. She'll show you her whole system from start to finish, how she went from an 18% return to a 24% return, right? Just follow her system. She's now been to 6 events. Peter Propuzik's going to be there. He's from Mississauga. He's going to get up and he's going to show us how to do a listing presentation. This guy's unbelievable. He's got a very large business. He does have a large team, but he converts over 90% of his listing appointments to listings, and he's going to show us exactly how he does that, how to differentiate yourself from everybody else in the market. Sydney's going to be there from Cobourg, Ontario. 98% of her business comes from repeat referral. She's going to take you through everything she does to build her repeat referral business. And of course, this dude right here is going to show up, and I teach you all kinds of really cool small giants. And we also, when you leave this event, it's workshop-ish, if you will. When you leave this event, you will actually have a complete marketing plan done for 2020. That's what our objective is. So when you leave, you're going to know what you're going to be doing for 2020 moving forward. So anyway, here's what the investment is, the event investment. It's $798. However, we have a relationship. We have a relationship with Royal LePage that we've had for many, many years now. We're very thankful for that. So if you go online, you can go to richardrobbins.com. And if you use the special code RLP, then what it'll do, it'll reduce that by $100. Or you can call the office and the number's there as well. Okay, I went through that quick. I hope that was helpful to everybody. So Mike, thank you for having me on, buddy. That was a lot of content in a very short period of time.
You better believe it, Ben. It's no surprise. You always bring it. I have a few comments about people saying, like, one person in the YouTube feed actually was like, great presentation, I'm inspired, which I said, yeah, you always inspire. And Robert Weiss is actually saying, first time I heard Richard Robbins speak and thought this was really informative and helpful. So I love that. Now, I got a good question, and I want to relate it back to one of the presenters you're going to have, because it came in a little bit, about 3/4 of the way through. And he said, you know, Richard, so far, this is all great advice in huge markets. And that's something I find sometimes people think, oh, this is only, you know, and he said, I welcome any advice you can give me in a small market like Saskatoon, where roughly 80 to 90% of people who bought in 2011, 2013 are being foreclosed on. And, you know, I thought in terms of it, like Taylor, who's in Edmonton, you know, anybody who's seen the market in Edmonton, it's not been great. You know, you talk about months on inventory. There are months and months of inventory out there. It's been super slow. Mm-hmm. So, you know, how does this translate in what you talked about in building your tribe and you know, and bringing the value and bringing exceptional customer service and building advocates? How does that work for a market where the people you're talking with are saying
100% the same, 100% the same, just a different service. So I can take Ken Healy. He's in a place called Beaumont, which is just outside of Edmonton, a small community of about, I think, 10,000 or 12,000 people. Ken, he's having his best year ever. He's already beat his goal from last year. Last year, he beat his goal from the year before. Obviously, he's a coaching client. He just did a presentation for us on Tuesday to our members, our coaching members. But the system's the same, because people, you still want to have advocates reaching out to you. But here's the difference. Could you help those people before foreclosure? See, when people go underwater, okay, because I sold real estate when people were underwater all day long back in 1989, 1990, 1991, right? So when they go underwater, what you have to do is help them through that process, okay? And in other words, you might sell the house for less, but you got to create a relationship with the bank, because the bank doesn't want to foreclose. The bank doesn't want to do the work. So if you went to the bank and said, here's the deal, Mr. Banker, right? I got this one of my clients. We're going to be listing their home. We're going to sell it. But when it's all said and done, you know, after I get paid, because if the bank sells it, they still got to pay a commission, right? After it's all said and done, and once I get paid and everything else, then you're going to have to take less, right? So in other words, the mortgage won't get fully paid out. I'll do all the work, but I need you to sign off on that. Now, I understand this is work, because I remember when I had to do it way back when, but that's what you got to start to do. Right? That's being a professional, because every market has opportunity. Every single market has opportunity. But how are you going to find those people unless you own the relationship?
Right.
Because now they come to you. They come to you and they go, you know, we got to sell, but we can't. You know, there's no, and then you say, okay, let's sit down and talk about this. Let me go to your bank. Let me do all of the legwork, because they don't want to phone their bank. They're afraid of their bank. They know how that all works, right? Like, so you've got to take over that responsibility. And business is nothing more than solving problems. So whatever you're marketing, what's the problem you got right now in that market, solve it. That's how you make money.
Yeah. Awesome. God, I love it. So I'm going to encourage more people to ask their questions in the Q&A. That's the only question I have so far. I wanted to, that was one that I was actually quite interested in the answer for. What was I thinking?
And I would tell this gentleman, if he wants, I don't know what his name is, but there's a gentleman by the name of Ken Healy, and Ken Healy is in Beaumont, which is a relatively small market that has been suffering. The real estate market is not good. So if this gentleman can hear me, tell him to look up Ken Healy in Beaumont and phone Ken Healy. Talk to him.
Yeah.
Right? Be a great way to do it.
Yeah. Go talk to the other people who are exactly are doing the same thing, and get them talking. Right.
Get them talking, because
there's good markets and bad markets everywhere. And like you said, there's people making money and finding opportunity. And if you're the person who's bringing that solution to them, then when the market turns around, what are they going to do? Right.
Well, a lot of people think, well, if I do that, there's no commission in the deal. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to get the bank involved, because if the bank does foreclose, which now takes a whole bunch of the bank's time, right? Or if they go power sale, whichever, then they're still paying a commission out. Plus, they got to do all the work. Plus, they got to get the people out of the house. Plus, they got to get the house cleaned up. They don't want to do that. So make the bank's job easy. Say, listen, I can look after all this for you. They'll still live in the house. They'll move out on closing date, because the bank wants them in the house if possible, because the house shows better when furniture's in it.
And now he's following up saying the lawyers refer the realtors to the bank. So I'm not too sure what that means, but that's what he's saying there.
Yeah. The lawyers would refer the realtors to the bank, but you got to get involved in before that process.
Yeah.
You see, that process is too late, because now what's happened, it's come to the foreclosure position, and now the bank takes over, and the bank has given it to a realtor, right?
Yep.
You got to get involved and work with the owners and help them get out of that, and also negotiate with the bank.
And I think that speaks also to other things you said, and something that I remember I had a conversation with some realtors in one of my workshops, and we were talking about doing exactly what Tom does and doing health checks. And I was saying, who's sending a CMA to their client database? And somebody lifted up their hand and they said, I'll do it if they ask. I said, why are we waiting for them to ask? I don't ask my bank for an update on my finances or investments. They give it to me because they know I'll want it. And with real estate, what you mentioned, with all the tech out there, I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to go online and find an answer. But I'm not going to do that if I already have it. And it's the same thing. We got to be in before they need it. Question about that in terms of it is just saying, every market goes in cycles. Can we talk about the different marketing plans how it depends on that market cycle? Now that's coming from Tamer Mecki. So I guess the question here is more, as the market moves up and down and those kind of things, how are the realtors, how are they adjusting their marketing plans based on that market cycle? Now that's coming from Tamer. She's a Royal LePage Pro Alliance in Belleville, actually. So good question.
Well, Belleville, the Belleville market's pretty good. Like, it's okay, right? Like, it's, like Peterborough, Belleville, those sort of areas. See, what happens, there's in a rising market. Now, the market across Canada, each one's different. And let's face it, the last couple of years, all markets have gone through a lot of disruption because of stress testing, because of foreign buyer taxes and vacancy taxes in BC. All this sort of stuff's been going on. When a market's rising, it's really interesting. And Toronto prices are now starting to rise again. But when market's rising, it's easy to price a house, right? Because if you make a mistake, the market might catch the price. So time becomes your friend, right? So time is your friend in a rising market. In a market that's stagnant or going down, time is your enemy. Because it like, for instance, if you were in certain areas of British Columbia right now where the market is really, really tough, you can no longer price a home based on what's sold. You got to price the home based on the competition on the market right now, and you got to be the best price in the market. So the pricing becomes different. And the number one thing in marketing, 80% of marketing is pricing a house, right? So those things become different in terms of the way you got to operate. Same, working with buyers is you don't have to motivate a buyer when the market's really busy and there's multiple offers, right? They'll make a decision quicker, they're going to lose the house. But now when it changes, there's lots of inventory, you got to help buyers see why it's a good time for them to buy. In terms of the lifetime referral system, nothing changes. That system is exactly the same with good markets, bad markets, right? So don't change that at all. And Mike, I say this with so much respect for all of the Royal LePage agents that are watching, because we work with so many Royal LePage agents, right? Is that if every single person, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, okay? If every single person would just follow the lifetime referral system, 100% of it that we teach, 100%, not 80%, not 50%. And it's really easy to do. You just got to create a marketing plan for the year. their business will grow in every market. How can Ken Healy in Beaumont, Alberta, be having the greatest year of his career, and last year was the second greatest year of career in a market that's really tough? Right? So the market can't be your reason for not doing a lot of business. A market's just another excuse. Do we have to work harder? Possibly. Do we have to be more creative and work with banks? Possibly. But that's what you do. You know, the people that make the most amount of money bring the most amount of value to the market. And a lot of people will use the market as a reason their business is down. And I say, well, we can't have excuses and results at the same time, right? We're going to get one. So pick it. Right? And I say that with all due respect. I'm not trying to, down talk. I'm just saying that, the opportunities are always there. Since I've been in this since 24, that's 35 years. I've seen every market you can ever imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to see, I want to thank you, Rich, so much. And I want to encourage, last year I went to Masters Academy, and, you get a nice workbook. Like you said, one of the things I think is really cool about Masters Academy is just the amount of resources you give to the realtors who come in and the amount of work you do in the sessions, that it's not a lot of, here, do this, blah, 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 blah. Go check that out later. It's stuff that you do in there. And, I'm hoping some people who are here on the webinar go take advantage of the opportunity to go use that code and go get an extra $100 off, because your prices are not cheap, because you're, like you said last year, you're not making the room bigger. You're just getting better people in it. And that's one thing.
That's a really good point. Yeah, we don't take on bigger space. We do the same space every year, right? Event sells out every year, because I'm not interested in having a huge event with 4,000 people in it at $199. That's not my play. And also, I would say you get two choices in life. You can go to the best, you can go to the cheapest, right? Well, we're not the cheapest. And believe me, that's not a game I will ever play, because I'm interested in the agents that are willing to invest in themselves, right? And if they've never been to this event before, it will be life-changing for them. Absolutely 100%.
So you want to wrap up with one more question?
Sure. I'll do whatever you want. I'm here to serve, my man. I'm serving right now.
Oh, sweet. All right. I'm never going to stop this webinar. Then I always have your advice. Easy peasy. So this one's coming in. This is, let me find out where he's from. But he said, I'm in a very small market, 6,500 people, and new to business, going up against realtors who, you've heard this, Wainwright, Alberta. So Wainwright, Alberta, new in the, market, going up against realtors who've been in the market for 20 to 30 years. What are the tips you'd give? Now, this is coming from Ken Hrubniuk. Oh boy, that's a hard last name. Hrubniuk. Ken, just know it's Ken from Wainwright, Alberta.
Okay, first of all, the reason that most people think you're a new agent is because you act like a new agent, right? Like, once you've been in the business 15 years, nobody says, how long you've been in real estate? So a lot of times it's because it's like the whole fake it till you make it. We're not acting with confidence. And I know this is easier said than done, but you've got to look confident, number one. The second thing, when I started in real estate at 24 years old, and when I was 24, I looked 16, right? Always, when I was in my 20s, I looked like I get asked for ID every time I went to a liquor store, when, even though I was of age. And what I started to do is, my theory was really simple. I started, I made phone calls every morning, so I prospected in the phone every morning. I did door knocked every afternoon. I did 2 open houses on Sunday and 2 open houses on Saturday. That's what I did. That's how I started. And the reason I did that was because all these agents in my office had all this experience, and I'm a kid, right? So what I knew is that if I got out there and generated more leads and prospected, right, I was going to start to get some business. And next thing you know, I'm working with some buyers. Next thing, I got a listing, and my first listing was in Ruby Street. I'll never forget. And once that listing sold, I bragged everybody that listing sold. I had flyers going on. I was knocking all over the place, telling everybody I had sold that listing. And believe it or not, that listing led to another listing. And so that's the process. You've got to get out there, and you've got to be like prospecting and generating and trying to find people who want to buy and sell real estate all day long, right? And you'll start to get a little bit of business, and then your confidence starts to build, right? And then every time you do business, you tell everybody you did the business through some form of marketing. that might lead to another one, right? I say that every listing you sell, if done right, should be able to get you another listing. You know, maybe two, but at least one. And just tell the world, start talking all the doors and tell them you just sold it. And that's how you build, right? It just happens. And if somebody is saying to you, I've said this to a lot of new agents, like you saw Tom's story there, you can see he's a pretty young guy, right? And he's downtown Toronto in a super competitive market. I said to Tom when he first started, which was about 5 years ago, I said, Tom, when you go on a listing presentation, you look young, right? And it was his concern too. And some people might go, well, why would I want to list with you? I'm in a highly competitive downtown Toronto, you know, and believe me, you want a competitive market, go to Toronto. Like there's a gazillion agents and people doing gazillion dollars a year. They got marketing plans of $1 million, right? And I said, look at the person you're sitting with and say this to them, because that's what I did actually, my first listing. I said, here's the deal. I said, you're right, I'm new. But guess what? I don't have any listings. And guess what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to give you 100% of my attention. And all day long, I'm going to be trying to get in this listing sold. And what I'm also going to do is say to you that at any time during the process, if you're not happy with what I'm doing, you can cancel the listing. Because I want you to be in control. And that puts a lot of pressure on me. And by the way, I need somebody to give me a chance. And if nobody ever gives me a chance, I'm not going to be a success. So I'm asking that from you. That was how Tom Story got his first listing.
Cool.
Right.
I love it. Love it. And that's it. Once you get one, now suddenly you're like, I'm experienced. I've done the listing. I've done it. It's all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, like you got to go out with that confidence and act like don't act like I'm not too sure. No, go out, learn one thing I love about what you always say is know your game. Know your game. Know what you know what you bring to the table, know the value. You're a new agent. You got fresh eyes. Everything's new. I've been exploring all these tools. Everything. I didn't learn this tool 20 years ago and trying to figure it out now, right? So I love it.
Yeah. Study the market, yeah.
Here's a good question that I think has a quick answer for you. But, it's video market updates twice a year to past clients is great when prices are going up. But what about when prices are going down? Now, that's coming from Wade Blackstone. Again, something Calgary, Alberta, Royal LePage benchmark. And, we've heard about the condo market out there and all, it's months of inventory. But I'm ready to answer this one.
Okay, you go ahead and I'll tell you if we got the same answer.
Well, to me, I go, if clients are going to love you when you give them the good news, I think they're going to really love you when you give them the bad news. Because you're the one who's keeping them informed. And you're not saying, it becomes less about my self-interest of saying, hey, I want you to know your price is going up, you should sell. I want you to understand what's happening in the market and stay informed. And that's where I am. I'm here on your side.
Yeah.
How am I doing?
You do the same thing. That's what I mean. The lifetime referral system does not change in good or bad market. Now, your dialogue might change. In other words, you might be down when you're like Tom was down there. You might say, hi, everybody, here's your spring, health check. And I wish I was bearer of better news. However, I just want to tell you exactly what's going on. So at least, like you might change it that way, but the information's the information and people still want to know. Right.
Yeah. And people will go look it up again. And then, or they won't. And then you'll wait till they list and then you'll go, oh, those are prices. We hear it all the time. Those are prices from 2 years ago. Well, that's not happening now. So now we're going to wait for 2 years because we're afraid to get in touch with them, and then we'll hit them with the bad news then because we don't want to hit them with bad news. Yeah, it's not bad news.
No, you got to tell them the truth. You got to tell them the truth. No, the truth is the truth is the truth. Truth is the discovery of reality. To ignore the truth doesn't change the truth, right? It's the truth. So tell them. Yeah,
and then when things turn around, then you'll have people who are ready to go because they'll have known what's happening, and then you'll be like, hey, things are moving up. Here we go, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I would suggest to everybody watching, you can go to my Facebook page, my business Facebook page. I think it's official Richard Robbins, I think. Yeah. And I do a market update every month. So even if I don't do a market update for your market, watch the content. Okay. Watch the update. You can download the slides and create them for your market because there's a lot of content there. And so I would suggest watching those, getting some ideas on how you can do a market update for these people is pretty valuable.
Cool. So with that said, I'm going to see, I think we've answered them all. I want to be mindful of your time. Rich, thank you so much. And again, for anybody who gets the chance to come out and check him out, take that opportunity. You get a lot. Those 2 days are incredibly valuable. I said I reference a lot of stuff, and I it's something that I talk about all the time. I want to remind everybody that we do have an indexed webinar library. I always get the question. Somebody was like, I missed the start. Can I get the recording? Yeah, we do always record them, so people can check that out. And you can always go into RLP Network and actually go through the past webinars if you want to see other ones. For our upcoming webinars, rlp.ca/training webinars, we've got Buffini coming up actually next month. So, gotta pit you guys again. That's how you guys work, right? You fight it out. If you guys get in a room, it's right.
No, actually, we all get along really well. I know it sounds crazy, but we do.
No,
Brian and I are great friends. Yeah.
You're on the same game of bringing everybody's level up. And you guys all know that,
we always say when we talk, like whether it's Ferry, Buffini, myself, or all the other ones, is that we want to see more people taking advantage of our training, right? It's like having all the restaurants in the same corner. Let's get more people there. And what we do is we can raise the level of the industry as a whole, together, because we're all a little different, right? So people just pick the one they like, and I get that.
Yeah, 100%. There's one that jives. Same with like we talked about CRM, right? There's a million different CRMs, and it seems, now we find this is another new one that I heard today. It's like, all right, here's one extra CRM that goes into my list of stuff CRMs I know. So But so we have Buffini coming up. I'm going to be doing a webinar on Gmail and leveraging Gmail. You can check it out, rlp.ca/training, and go to the webinar sections at the top. And with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for chatting and adding their questions. I love it because it means that we're getting through to people. And Rich, as always, man, I want to thank you. I love when you come on do a webinar for us. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mike. Thanks for everybody to listen.
And we'll see everybody all next time.
All good.